Hey, it's John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and it's The Entrepreneurial You, the show for dedicated and passionate Caribbean entrepreneurs seeking daily inspiration, brought to you by author, speaker, and award-winning entrepreneur Heneka Watkis-Porter. You must be prepared to ignite.
Hardships often prepare ordinary people for an extraordinary destiny. C.S. Lewis. Greetings, my peak performers. How are you doing today? I hope you're great. I am doing well. Welcome to episode 125 of the Entrepreneurial You podcast. I'm Heneka Watkis-Porter. Today's episode is with Nancy Solari. Nancy, who holds a BA in broadcasting and psychology, altered her career path throughout the years as her eyesight worsened. She worked for Oregon News, Good Day Oregon, Good Morning America, and Entertainment Tonight. Nancy was later a singer, a top producing realtor in Southern California, and is currently a successful business owner. I'm really looking forward to having this conversation on living full out every day with Nancy. Hey, Nancy, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. Before we dive in, I want to ask you a little question about Jamaica. Have you ever been to Jamaica, or do you have any Jamaican friends?
You know what? I don't currently have Jamaican friends that I hang out with, but I have been to Jamaica. Really nice. So such good people. But I actually went there when I was on a cruise one time. That was one of our stops. And so I absolutely it. Yep.
Did you get to come on, explore a little, do any shopping?
We did go shopping, and I remember there was somewhere that we were going is there some sort of a waterfall or something where everybody holds hands or something?
Oh, Dunn's River Falls, perhaps?
Yes, that was it. I do remember that also.
Nice, yep. Nice. I'm happy you have pleasant memories of Jamaica. Let's move into why we're really here, and it's to talk about living full out every day. Right. What was life like for you growing up, Nancy? You have quite an interesting resume. I'm reading and I'm looking at, all these amazing things that you've done in media. I know somehow I'm so attracted to media. I don't know why I'm not really full-fledged in media, but anyways. So Entertainment Tonight and Good Morning America, these are programs that we watch right here in Jamaica. But before we even get into all of that good stuff, what was life like for you growing up, Nancy?
I grew up into a family. My parents were married, and I had two sisters that were older than me. But like so many families, we ended up breaking apart. My parents got divorced, and my mom kind of really raised the three of us girls. In my early years, there were a lot of struggles that came with that breakup of my parents' marriage. There was domestic violence. My sisters coped with it, but they both developed eating disorders. My mom got breast cancer. And then the topper was when we were all told, I was 16 years of age, but we were all told that we'd be going blind by 40. We all had this condition called retinitis pigmentosa. And I will tell you that as a little girl, was a little bit more passive than I am today, I guess, being out there in the media. But I just kind of watched, and I looked at how all the different people in my family functioned. I really analyzed, why was my dad so angry? I saw the assertiveness and the strong will of my mom. I saw my sisters cope. And I think in watching the different personalities, seeing how they coped, it really developed in me the life coaching skills I have today. And I think that as a business owner and just as a human being, we can get so much from listening and watching.
So, that you're actually learning in a very passive way, but actively passive, if you will, right? That experience that you've had, you're talking about the news that you got about going blind, or you go blind by 40. How did that affect you, really?
I was super hoping that they were wrong, like we always are when we have a health condition. I was further hoping that a cure would come. I thought, for sure, I'm 16 years of age, medical cure will come one day. Well, I'm in my 40s now. I'm not fully blind, but everything is so blurry. It's hard to see faces. It's hard to see depth perception, colors, you name it. It's really just kind of a blurry patchwork of shades for me. But I do hold on to what vision I do have. But what I would say about that is, when you are given the news of any kind, you really start to look at life in a bucket list mentality, in a I might only have today mentality. And so when we talk about living full out, I really think the day I was diagnosed with RP, that's really when my living full out quest started.
Out of a challenge, out of a negative situation, you saw it as a way to start. Perhaps maybe you didn't even fully recognize at the time, but you saw it as an opportunity to start living life very full way, living it out very loudly. And so I want to hear from you, Nancy. What does living full out really mean to you, and how are you living full out?
Such a great question. So living full out to me means that you look at all aspects of your life and kind of consider what makes up you as a whole. And that is career, that is relationships, that is personal hobbies and desires, that might be traveling, whatever it would be. And you don't want to put all energy into one piece of you. You want to diversify your time and your energy. You want to wake up every day as much as you can. So we're all going to have those hard days, really with passion in your heart that, I'm going to live life full out. I'm going to do my best every day, and I'm going to experience what I can and kind of go with that positive attitude. But, we all know that life happens, right? Disappointments come in, expectations, times we fail. And the thing is, when you have those moments where things don't go right, if you have the living full out mentality in your mind and your heart, and you know what you're shooting for in all those areas of your life, it becomes a little bit easier to self-correct, meaning that the disappointment may come, but then your belief in your heart and that dream, that aspiration is so ingrained inside you that it'll get you back on track. I kind of look at a dream and an aspiration like having a magnet inside your body. When you get off track, the dream or aspiration, like a magnet, will pull you back on track. It's what you're meant to do.
You said something a while ago, and I'm kind of even introspecting and wondering and reflecting, is this where I'm at in life? Like, I totally get that, you pursue your passion and everything. But even as you mentioned about diversifying your time, Nancy, I'm here thinking to myself, I love doing these podcasts, and I love connecting with people, and I love going hard out, getting these conferences and workshops that I do together. But as I sit here, I start to, and even prior to know, but I think this is just kind of making it more clear for me, is just starting to think of how do I diversify my time and what I've been doing recently. So let me share this little secret with you, right? So, so now I have this habit of when I get bored, so I will be, so gung-ho on trying to stay by my own schedule, and I'll plan and all of that. But once I get bored, and I do get bored very easily, I find myself scrolling through social media, just randomly looking at on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And I'm like, no, but this is like, even though I'm getting work done because I'm really committed to that, I am distracting my own self, and negatively so. And what I've begun to do is to replace that habit of scrolling through Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is. I replaced that with using two apps. One is the Bible app on my phone, and two is another app that I'm using to learn French. And in just 2 or so weeks, I've learned so much French rather than just scrolling through. So it's like I'm trying to diversify my time. So you've given me a name for it.
There you go. And you know what? You and I are like sisters, because I'm there with you. I have found too that I've taken on learning guitar and different things. And when you replace the negative habits with positive ones, all of a sudden you're speaking French, you're playing guitar, and it just takes that switch.
Yeah. Tell us a little more about living full out. Like, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, I look at you, I look at your website, I look at your accomplishment, I look at the challenges that you've gone through, and there is nobody in life who's challenge free. We all go through various challenges, but you seem to take your challenge in such strides and understanding and recognizing that, this is what life has offered to me, and I'm going to respond to it in the best way that I know how.
Absolutely. And, one of the things that I want to mention on that is a lot lot of times the hard things that happen in our life, it could be a divorce, it could be abuse, it could be a financial crisis, it could be infertility, infidelity, whatever, all those things. Whenever those things happen, we feel like we can't talk about them. Like if we talk about them, it's going to be a flaw, or somebody's going to reject us, or it's going to label us. But what I have found actually in business, and actually it's all part of that living full out, go for it factor, is it's those hard times that connect us. We may not have had the same experience, but I'll tell you, when I meet somebody at a networking event and they are so open and so honest, and I mean, instantly we've just gone from the superficial, hi, my name is, to, gosh, let's get together for lunch, or, I could talk to you for hours. You just enrich the conversation and the connection when you can take those hardships and be vulnerable, talk about them, because I'm pretty sure other people are going to identify with it too.
Absolutely. And, vulnerability makes for authentic, relationships all the time. It works every time because, people, you become more relatable, and people want to relate to persons who are more relatable, or, I'm facing that too. It may not be the exact challenge, but it may be something that's similar, and seeing how you deal with it and having somebody to share that with, can create lasting relationships. And, this society that we live in at times would want to make us feel as though, as you rightfully say, Nancy, that, you can't talk about it. But talking is so therapeutic.
I think it's definitely therapeutic, and it's really needed because just think about times that we're anxious, right? We're kind of like a soda can. You take a soda can, you shake it up, right? What happens when you pop it? It explodes.
Ah.
And so when you talk and you kind of not overly vent, but when you kind of disperse that negative energy, or when you have somebody you can talk to from time to time, you get less of that buildup and you don't explode. And that's how you're able to go the distance in life, in business, in your relationships, is not letting things gather and build and eventually explode.
All right. So, we talk about this whole philosophy of, living full out and living pretty much from day to day our best selves. But in those moments, and I'm sure with the best of intentions and with the best of and most positive of a mindset, those days, there are some days that are just so challenging or seem more challenging than the others. When the odds are seemingly stacked up against you on any given day, Nancy, how do you approach that day?
Well, depends where I am in the day. If it's later in the day, I believe in calling it a day.
Right.
There are times when I've had a really long day, I just want to go to bed. It isn't depression. It's just called, let's put a cap on this day and start it over tomorrow. So it depends where I am in the day. If it's early in the day, what I will do are a couple tricks. Number one is I have different friends in my life for different reasons. So some I can turn to for business venting, some I can turn to for matters of the heart or relationships. So what I might do is just pick up the phone or text them, see if they're available, have a quick chat, get out of my mind what that block is, because otherwise I will fester about it all day. If I quickly jump on the call with somebody, chat it out for 15, 20 minutes, now I've got it out of my mind. I've got it out of my heart. I expressed myself, and I can go on to be very, very productive. The other trick is if I'm home, take a shower, switch the energy. Believe it or not, when you take a shower, when you drink a glass of water, when you get up and do a series of maybe 3 to 5 jumping jacks, you're moving energy around in your body. And what emotion is energy in motion. So when you have negative emotions locked up in your body, you have to get up and get that energy out.
Absolutely essential, to shift, just to create that shift, whether it's in your mood or it's physically in your body or something. Creating that shift is important. Now, I want you to talk to this young woman right now who is going through a very traumatic period. Maybe she is an entrepreneur and she's going through a very traumatic period right now, not quite sure what direction to take with her life and want to now explore the idea of living full out, where does she begin?
Great question. What I always tell people to do is ask those around you, what would you be best known for? What do you come to me for? Are you a good cook? Are you good at technology? Are you a good listener? Do you give good advice? I think sometimes we have to be told by other people what are our positive attributes, not just the physical, but the talents that we're naturally good at. So you want to take that. Then you want to take into consideration what has always intrigued you, what has excited you, what are you drawn towards, and what careers could have you living out that passion and getting paid for it. Then step 3 would be to go on, even a platform like LinkedIn and see what type of professionals have a career such as the one that this gal would want. And there's variations to so many careers with, the entrepreneurial spirit in our hearts, right? Mm-hmm. You can have it look any way. And so when you take understanding what you're naturally good at, what others would say, when you take what is passionately in your heart, what you're excited to wake up every day and do, and then when you look online and you see that people are actually doing that for a living, that's when the pieces start to come together.
Mm-hmm. And I know that for your life, for everybody's life, we are a sum total of our experiences. What part of your childhood, perhaps, do you think has the most profound impact on who you are today?
That's a great question. And again, I was a little girl watching all these people in my family, right, going through all their stresses and traumas and dramas. But I was also a viewer of the Oprah Winfrey Show, which I'm sure you get there in Jamaica as well,
yeah.
or used to. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And I remember as a little girl watching her show, and others as well, Donahue, Sally, back then there were a whole bunch. And I remember thinking, that is what I want to do. But how do I do that? So this kind of piggybacks on the scenario I just gave you, right? I knew I needed a broadcasting degree. I knew I needed a psychology degree, so I got them. Then I knew I needed broadcasting experience. That's where all that producing, anchoring, DJing, all that came into play. As well as I was a counselor for many different hotlines, suicide hotlines, sexual assault hotlines. So I started to really get better and better at understanding what was required. And as I gained all that experience, the other thing I realized is I could admire Oprah for all that she did, but I had to figure out who Nancy was. I had to figure out as a host, as an entrepreneur, as a coach, who was Nancy? And so in life, it's about being an original, and sometimes that takes our whole life to figure it out.
And what does that process looks like? Because yes, I know it's not an overnight thing, and it perhaps take your entire life, as you rightfully say, to figure out Nancy. But what does the process of trying to figure out who you are looks like? Persons may be struggling right now with identity challenges, identity crises. Now, what does figuring out who you are, what does that look like?
Number one, you have to have patience, because we live in a what's in it for me society. We live in a I need it now. And then if you look at social media, there's a lot of comparing, who's got what, who's ahead of me, right? And I think it's really important that we all remember that we all are running our own individual race in life. We're not competing with other people. There may be other people who are visually impaired and blind, but they haven't gone through everything I've gone through. There may be other hosts from Jamaica, but they're not going to be exactly you and your personality. So that takes away the competition. But then you have to have patience, right? Because as you go along in life, the successes and the times that we fail, they shape us, they mold us. So I say hooray to those who all figure it out in their 20s or earlier.
But hooray to them.
Right. But to be honest, most of the people who quote, quote, make it, they make it later in life. And I think you can make make it over and over and over again even. But a lot of times people who have multiple successes, that too is because they grew as a person and their focus changed.
Absolutely, Nancy. And I'll put it out there. I am 40. I just turned 41. And I'm still figuring out who I am. I mean, to a large extent, I know what I stand for. I know my values, but I'm still trying to figure out, like right now, I'm in that process of just trying to know me and connect with me a lot more. So it's never an overnight thing. And as you say, kudos to those in their 20s who've already figured it out. But I'm sure there's going to be some cause for pivot along the way. Now, speaking of pivot, somebody wants to pivot right now because they're at a bad place in their lives, whether it be emotionally, career-wise, or even in terms of a business pursuit. What are some considerations you think we should, have in place when we're trying to reinvent who we are and pivot?
I love pivots. I love it. And I support everybody doing a pivot today. Okay. I want you to start walking, just do a random pivot and go a different direction.
Oh yeah.
Because the thing about a pivot in life is it keeps life exciting and fresh, right? It's like if you were driving to the same location every day down the same road, the same path, that's good. But what if you shake it up? You might just see things you haven't seen before. So I think pivots are great. And a lot of times, we know what we know, but it's what we don't know. It's what we haven't seen because we keep going down the same path. That opportunity could open up a new door to new relationships, new career endeavors. And so I think pivots are great. Now, the critical thing about a pivot is you have to trust your instincts. You have to trust in that decision, commit to it, and go with it with all your gusto. If you make the wrong decision, you know what? Chalk it up to a mistake or, an error in judgment, and you'll do better next time. But, if you're really going to make a pivot, then really give it its full shot, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And oh my gosh, Nancy, it's such a pleasure. And we're actually coming to a close right now. So I'm going to ask you to share your final thoughts with us and how might our community get in touch with you, as well as if you have any particular lead magnets or anything on your page that you want to share, go right ahead and share that.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I definitely want to invite everyone to go to livingfullout.com. And when they go there, they will see the ability to sign up for 80 different tips to bring balance into your life. And that goes into a lot of what it means to live full out. And any one of those 80 tips could just change a hard day to being a better day. So I definitely want everybody to go and grab that. It's free. Also, feel free to connect with us on social media. We're not about selling you anything. We actually put on our social media other inspiring stories. We like to teach you things about better eating and health and just living your life full out. So check that out. And then lastly, it's really important to me that your audience take today to just kind of slow down and evaluate their life, evaluate what you want to change, even those things that you keep saying that you're going to change and you never do, write them down. Or the things that you want to change, write them down. But then also be really proud of how far you've come, because I don't think we give ourselves enough credit. And to be proud of yourself means that you celebrate. So take yourself out to lunch, out to dinner, do things to really honor who you are. And again, that's what it means to live full out.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Nancy Solari. It has been a real pleasure just to talk with you and just to be inspired by you. You are an inspiration, and I'm sure our community of peak performers had a great time listening to you as well.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I wish everybody a really great day. Go out there and live full out. Have fun.
And thank you, my peak performer, for tuning in to this episode with Nancy Solari. I look forward to connecting with you next week. Until next time, please remember to visit HenekaWatkis-Porter.com, where you can get TEY merchandise. You can sign up for courses, read the blogs, binge on previous podcast episodes, and just have a great time as you develop into a leader that's worth following as well as unleash your entrepreneurial spirit. Remember, you were born to win, but to be a winner, you must plan to win, prepare to win, and expect to win. What good? Attention! LeaderCast Women is an inspirational one-day leadership event featuring renowned female leaders. Male and female audience members alike will leave LeaderCast Women with the tools they need to become leaders worth following. Attend the event via simulcast at Knutsford Court Hotel on October 18. To learn more, visit HenekaWatkis-Porter.com or call 849-2571.
We needed to raise capital, but our experience with local financial institutions was that they were cautious and slow to act, and interest rates were far too high. We had real concerns about financing our business through outside equity investors and the possibility of interference. Could we get a fair valuation for our business? We had our own ideas about the business and its value. Should I go the traditional route of bank financing, or should I try the Jamaica Stock Exchange? So we made a call and experienced transformation of our business through conversations. I'm John Mahfood, CEO of Jamaican Teas, and we're listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Give us a call today at 876-967-3271 to begin your transformation through conversation. We want to see your company listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange.